What's shaking YouTube? This is your host, Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and like always, welcome back to the show. Today is the Hot 10 Breakdown of the week, where I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down for you guys, letting you know which books I'm buying at which prices, and which I'm staying away from. But before we get started, we're almost at 8,000 subs, literally I think 50 away, and of course when we get there, we're giving away some awesome stuff to one lucky subscriber. If you're not subbed to the channel yet, you're missing out. Hit that sub button, smash the like button for me because it really does help the channel out. And if you guys have not checked out my latest video with Jim Jerkhammer, the comic book community news, make sure you check that video out. It is awesome. With that said, let's get into this week's breakdown. Starting off the list at number 10 this week is a copy of Fantastic Four number 5 and the first appearance and origin of Doctor Doom. And last week we had a CGC 6.0 sell for a whopping $13,000, up 22% over the average. Then we had a lowly CGC 2.5 sale of $4,833, up 9% over the average. All Doctor Doom books are super hot right now. Of course, we did get that news that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Victor Von Doom in the MCU. Or is he? We're going to find out. Regardless, I think a lot of these books are super hot right now. You know I want to own this book, FF number 5. It is a must own for the long term. But is now the right time to buy this book? I'm saying it's a no-go for me. Wait for all the hype to die down if you want to buy this one. But then I'm adding it back to the collection. At the 9th spot this week is a copy of Marvel Spotlight number 5 and the first appearance and origin of Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. And last week we had a CGC 9.0 sell for $4,600 but flat over the average. Then we had a CGC 5.0 sale for $1,700, only up 3% over the average. If you guys watched my Ultimate Collection video, I told you there's about 10 books from the Bronze Age that I really want to own. This is one of them. I'm definitely a buyer of this book, but right now if you're going to buy Bronze, you got to be able to hold these books for the long term. Too much fluctuation going on. Regardless, if you guys don't know this as well, this is one of the least graded Bronze Age keys of that 10 by CGC. So yes, I'm adding it to collection, but only for the long term. Back at number 8 this week is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 94 and the first appearance of the new X-Men team in the main title. And last week we had another CGC 6.5 sell for $552, up 14% over the average. Then we had a CGC 6.0 sale of $515, up 13% over the average. If you're a big X-Men fan, this is a must-own book, and I still think you're going to find this one for a deal if you're looking for raw copies. Graded copies, they go for a little bit of premium. So for me, if you really want to own this book for the long term, I'm all over it. If not, 5 to 10 years, if you go to sell this book, I would not be a buyer of this one right here. To each his own, it's up to you. Back on the list at number 7 this week is a copy of Captain America number 100 and the first ongoing series featuring Captain America in the Silver Age, beginning with issue 100. And last week we had a super high grade copy, a CGC 9.2, sold for $1,650, up 3% over that average. Then we had a CGC 5.5 sale of only $285, but up 8% over that average. You know this when I talk about these books, these Silver Age minor keys in really high grade, they cost a lot of money. I'd rather spend $200, $300, hell, even less than that if I'm gonna get this book in lower grades. That to me is a good buy, but spending all that money on a super high grade for a minor key, in my opinion, that's a no-go. Dropping a few spots to number 6 this week is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 266 and the second appearance of Gambit. This is also the first cover appearance of Gambit. And last week we had a CGC 9.6 sell for $310, but up a crazy 31% over the average. I'd love to own this book in a 9.8 for $500 or less for the long term, but if not, I'm buying myself a nice raw copy for around $150 in a 9.0 and a 9.2, but in my opinion that's got to be raw because you're not getting that deal on a graded copy. That's what I want to add to my collection. Anything else I think is spending way too much money on this book. Coming in at number 5 is a Silver Age Grail. It is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 1 and the second appearance of Spider-Man. This is also his first ongoing series and the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson and the Chameleon. And last week we had a CGC 6.0 with a monster sale of $19,100, up 4% over the average. Then we had a CGC 3.0 sale of $9,200, up 15% over the average. For me, this is a no-brainer. Yes, I want to own this book, but I do think this one is coming down in price still, so make sure you're getting the best deal you possibly can in the grade that you want to own for the long term. If you're not going to hold this thing for the long term, there's going to be a lot of fluctuation with this book over the next couple of years, so do yourself a favor, buy it if you really want to own it. At number 4 this week is some Doctor Doom goodness. It is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 5 and the first battle between Doctor Doom and Spider-Man. Is this a sign of things to come in the MCU? We'll find out. Last week, we had a CGC 7.5 sell for a whopping $4,400, up 15% over the average. Then we had a CGC 3.5 sale for $876, but up only 1% over the average. You guys know I absolutely love this book. It is my second book that I'm going to buy when we're talking about Doctor Doom, but I'm not spending $1,000 on a 3.5. To me, that is not worth it. And you guys, I said before, I'm not buying any Doctor Doom books right now. They're just going for way too much than I think they're worth. Regardless, if you can find this book for cheap, around a 1.0, 1.5 for a really good deal. Myself, I just sold around a 1.8 copy for under $400. I'd be all over it. Other than that, I'm staying away. Dropping a few spots to number 3 this week is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 340 in this iconic cover by Todd McFarlane. And last week we had a CGC 9.6 sell for $525, up an insane 54% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.4 sale of $285, up another 20% over the average. Another really common copper book. Yes, I want to own this one. Over the past couple of weeks, I told you guys it was a thumbs up, but you could still find this book in around a 9.0 raw copy for around $150 to $175. That's what I'd be doing. I don't want to spend a crazy amount of money with all the copies out there still of this one. Back at number 2 this week is a massive Bronze Age key, maybe the Bronze Age key. It is a copy of Giant Size X-Men number 1 and the first appearance of the new X-Men team and the second appearance of Wolverine. And last week we had a massive CGC 9.0 sell for a whopping $4,600, but it was flat against the average. Then we had a CGC 5.0 sale of $1,700, up 3% over the average. Yet again, another massive X-Men key, a must-own book for any X-Men fan. But it's now the right time to be going ahead and buying this book. That is up to you. You got to hold this one for the long term. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation over the next couple of years. Either way, I love this book. I want to own it in my collection, and one of the better Bronze Age books that you can own. And finally, at the top spot again for the 3rd week in a row, it is a copy of Marvel Superhero Secret Wars number 8, and yes, that is a mouthful, and the origin of the black symbiote costume. And last week, we had another CGC 9.8, sold for $600, up 19% over the average. I've been telling you guys over the past couple of weeks, this book is super common. Regardless, it is a must-own book. I just don't want to spend $600 on a 9.8 or $400 or $300 something on a 9.6. It is just not worth it. Go get yourself a nice high-grade raw copy just to have in the collection. You will not regret it. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Some new books on the list, and again, some of the same stuff that we have been seeing. Good note though, we don't see a Wolverine 1 or a New Mutants 98 anymore. Hopefully they don't return. Great books, they've just been on the list way too long. It is now time for my best buy of the week, and to me this was an easy one. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 1, the second appearance of Spider-Man and the first in his own title. To me, a must-own book for any Spidey fan and a must-own book if you're a Marvel Silver Age collector. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.